Hi, this is Eddie Deezen, Eugene from Greece, and I'm watching The Ross Owen Show.
Hi guys, we just had a little walk along Venice Boulevard and I can't believe where we ended up. We've landed on a very iconic piece of ground. Just take a look and see if you recognise this place. From that classic movie from 1977, this is the school from Greece, and of course Grease 2. But you know, it would be a whole lot better if we spoke to someone who was actually in the movie, and I think we've picked the right guy, because standing right beside me, to my right here, is Eddie Deezen.
Hello, Ross.
Eugene. Eddie, how are you?
How are you, Ross? It's a pleasure to see you.
No buzzer today.
No buzzer today, no. No bow tie, no white bucks. No, this is how I look now. This is what I've come to, yes.
Thanks for joining us today. Now, 1977, you made that movie, Grease.
Yes.
Right here.
Summer of '77.
How old were you then?
I was 20 years old. I just turned 20. My very first movie, so I lucked out.
And you live nearby, or what? Tell me about...
No, Ross, I live out in Hollywood, which is miles and miles away. Literally, I don't know how long the schlep is, but I would literally get the bus every morning. It was my first movie, so I didn't have a driver or anything. I would get the bus like 3 in the morning and take like a 2.5-hour bus ride every day. But when you're 20, you can do that. You know, I had all this energy and I do it, yeah. Then later on, do you remember Craterface, the guy that played Craterface?
Yes, of course,
yeah. He died. He was, sadly, he was the first one of our teenagers to die. But we were in the makeup room one day, and I was talking about my bus schlep. He goes, Eddie, you take the bus to the set? I go, yeah. His name was Dennis C. Stewart. He goes, you take the bus to the set, Eddie? I go, yeah. He goes, not anymore. I'm going to give you a ride. So luckily, Dennis would give me a ride about halfway through. But I took many a bus ride from Hollywood down to Venice to do this movie, and I was thrilled to do it, you know.
How many times have you been here since then?
This is the first time, almost 42 years, Ross. Wow. This was the summer of '77. We're in March of 2019 now, so almost 42 years.
And has it changed much? I mean, to me, this looks exactly the same as it did.
You know what it is, Ross? When I peeked in the door, it kind of looked the same. This, I don't recognize so much, kind of. But when I looked in and saw the school, that I was familiar with. And all the memories started coming back.
Because, of course, many of your scenes were inside the school.
Exactly, exactly.
You had the famous pie, in Sid Caesar's face.
Exactly.
And that was shot, you think, maybe in a different school?
Yes, that was at Marshall High. Marshall High, we did the carnival scenes, which is actually close to my home. Venice is where we did all the dance stuff, you know, the big dance off, John and Olivia dance, and all. That was all done here. I think in the gymnasium here, we caught it. Now, when we filmed that, Ross, it was stiflingly hot. It was the middle of summer in LA. It was like 116 degrees. We couldn't open the windows because the noise outside, we were filming, you know, and all these planes would come by. So we had to keep it shut up. The guy that played, do you remember Michael Tucci? He was one of the T-Birds. Freaky D.
Of course, yeah.
He collapsed from the heat. He literally collapsed and fainted. He was taken to the hospital. It was so hot there. Wow. And several of the extras collapsed. They fainted from the heat. Yeah.
Now, this was your first ever movie?
This was my very first film, yeah.
How big a star were John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John at the time? Did you know it? Were they big stars at the time?
I knew John. Saturday Night Fever hadn't come out yet, but I did know John from Welcome Back, Kotter. I watched every week and I thought he was great, you know. And we could all kind of feel this explosion was going to happen with John. He wasn't quite superstar status, you know. Saturday Night Fever put him up, but you could feel it was just on the brink. You could kind of feel, and then, you know, after that came out, and Grease, he was like James Dean, you know. He was like that level.
And when you were making Grease, did you have any idea how big it would become? I mean, looking back now, all these years later, it's still iconic.
I kind of thought so, Ross, because I knew we had John, and he was like the hottest star going. And also, I'll tell you a secret, when everybody does their first film, you think it's going to be a hit.
Right.
You do your first movie, and you go, I'm in the movies like Clark Gable and James Dean, you know, and Humphrey Bogart, so it's going to be a movie like a Humphrey Bogart. But you don't realize a lot of people's first films are terrible, and nobody ever sees them. But Grease, I lucked out.
Sure. Yeah. And what are your memories of working on the movie? I mean, what are your favourite moments? And maybe the sort of not so favourite moments?
Well, the kindness of John Travolta, I remember. One of the kindest men I've ever worked with, one of the kindest human beings. My first scene, you know, I walked down the stairs and the T-Birds kind of roughed me up, you know. After every take, John would go, he used to call me Buddy. He'd go, are you all right, buddy? You know, it was just a scene, but we did several takes. They'd ruffle me up. The director goes, cut. John would go, you okay, buddy? I go, yeah, I'm okay, Mr. Travolta. I guess I called him John. I don't know if I called him John or Mr. Travolta. I probably called him John. But he'd always make sure I was okay, and he called me buddy. There's another one I remember, Ross. We were out when we were doing outdoor shots, and John was like maybe like like, you see where that yellow sign is, maybe that far away from me, okay? He was surrounded by press and cheerleaders and all these girls. I was alone on the set. I was just this goofy kid. I had a chocolate ice cream cone. I was like, John saw me from this far away. I kid you not, it's a true story. And he came over to me. How are you, buddy? And he shook my hand. That's how nice of a guy he was, right, to do that. You know, he has the world's at his feet, and he made sure I was okay.
Nice guy.
Yeah, super nice guy.
I'm sure I heard the story. Didn't you almost get killed during the making of this movie?
This is a true story, Ross. This was actually after we did Grease, but I was in Hollywood, okay? I was at a bus stop and I was reading my little book, probably a book about the Beatles, you know, and it's like dusk, it was getting late. So a guy sat down beside me. Now there's a lot of lonely people in Hollywood, you know, so I figured this is one of these lonely guys and I don't really want to talk. So I was probably too rude. You should probably be friendly to everybody, but I was probably rude. He said, do you have the time? And very abruptly, I said, it's 6:30. I said it kind of curtly. So then I hear, go back to my book, then I hear from the side, don't you disrespect me, man. I looked up. This was a gangbanger. It's a gangbanger totally in black leather, like one of the thugs from Grease, but this is in real life. Oh, no. He was a Mexican-American, which it just happened this gang was right. Mexican-American. He was a gangbanger. This guy could have easily killed me. Anyway, I look over. If it couldn't, the situation couldn't have got worse. There were like 3 or 4 other gangbangers there. There's like 4 of them there. I go, these guys are going to kill me. It's Hollywood, no, and the cars are driving by, but nobody's going to stop to help you in Hollywood. I go, I'm dead. I go, maybe he'll just beat me up. I go, or maybe he'll be nice and just rob me. You know, I had like $138. Maybe he'll just rob me. So I see him, he goes over and huddles with his friends. They're literally huddling, these guys, and talking. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna die here. What's gonna happen? He comes over and goes, hey man, are you the guy from Grease? I go, yeah, that's me, I'm Eugene. He goes, my pals want to know something. I go, yes, sir. He goes, was Olivia Newton-John as hot in real life as she was in the movie? I go, oh, she was beautiful. Olivia was really hot and blah, blah. Anyway, I chatted with him for 5 or 10 minutes. Finally, God intervened. The bus came by, like the cavalry. The bus came by, swung by. I go, da-da-da. I shook hands with all these gangbangers and all. I got on the bus and left. But if I wasn't in Grease, I literally think they would have killed me.
Wow,
yeah.
That's scary,
yeah,
yeah. That's a horrible thought.
At least giving me a beating, you know. Not only could not one guy have beat him up, their girlfriends could have beat me up. I weighed like 120 pounds. They could have easily, you know. It's like, yeah.
I love that you said maybe if he's in a good mood, he'll just beat me up.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a world
just
of
for
living.
exercise, you know. Yeah.
Now you also appeared in Grease too.
Yes, I was in Grease too, yeah.
Now, I want to take you back to the first one. When you first... Sure. Did you do an audition? Can you remember?
Yes, Ross, I do remember. I was called in for an audition. I wasn't even in the union at the time. I wasn't even in Screen Actors Guild. That's how green I was. But I went in, Eugene has like 3 lines in or something. So I read my lines. Randall Carr was there, our producer. The director, Randall Kleiser, who's a wonderful director. By the way, it was his first film, too.
Sure.
I said, that was your first movie? You're like Orson Welles with Citizen Kane. And, you know, that was the best thing he ever did. And then Mr. Joel Thurm was our casting director. Those 3 were in the room with me. So anyway, I'm reading my lines in the room, and I looked over Ross, and I saw they were like nudging each other. I saw they were going like that. So I knew I was doing good. I saw the corner of my eye they were nudging, so I knew I did good. Anyway, they hired me for the film. I got Grease. This is a true story. Again, if you're religious people take this story, they say it's a miracle. Other people say it's just a coincidence, but this is a true story. I got cast in Grease, okay? I called my family and all my friends. I'm gonna be in this movie with John Travolta. It's called Grease. I told everybody. Anyway, about a week later, Paramount called my agent. Paramount Studios called my agent. They said, the Eugene role was very small. We cut it out of Grease. We're not gonna have him anymore. He's not gonna be in the film. Literally. So, you know, I'm apoplectic. I go, it's like a disaster. My whole world caved in and all. So my agent called me, said, Eddie, we're going to go to church. What? I go, I'm Jewish. I've never been. She goes, no, we're going to go to church. Okay. My agent and I literally went to a church that was on Vermont Avenue in Hollywood. It's still there. It's called Our Mother of Good Counsel Church. We went in the church. She goes, we're going to light a candle. And what? This is how Christians do it, I guess, or Catholics. I didn't know any of this. We literally lit a candle at the altar. We lit a candle. She said, say a little prayer. So, of course, I prayed. I get put back in Grease. This is a true story, Ross. My hand to the Lord. Like a day or 2 later, it might have been the next day or it might have been a couple days later. But anyway, they say, Eugene's been put back in Grease. You're back in the movie. Now, religious people go, oh my God, the Lord intervened. It's amazing. And, you know, atheists will go, or non-believers will go, it's just a coincidence. You lucked out. But that is a true story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And now, Grease 2.
Yes, sir.
You got the call, we're making another one. What was
Right.
your initial thoughts? Because often when you make an iconic movie, sequels can often be a bad thing.
Right.
Did you have any reservations before it?
No, I was happy to work. I loved Didi Khan was in it. Not many of us in. Dennis Seastord, who played Craterface, who gave me the ride to Grease 1, was in it too. Not many of us were in it. I think there was us three, and I don't remember who else in the cast was still in it, but a few. Sid Caesar was still in it.
Of course,
Caesar was in
and
it.
of course the school teachers.
Eve Arden,
Yeah,
Eve
yeah.
Arden, Dodie Goodman, they were all such wonderful people. Eve Arden was the most lovely lady. I would ask her about the Marx Brothers. She was in At the Circus with the Marx Brothers,
Right.
and I remember saying, Harpo was a lamb, she said. I remember her telling me about Harpo Marx, but she was a lovely lady. And I was very excited, and I was happy to work, yeah. I didn't think, this is just my own opinion, some people I've met over the years, maybe like 20 or 30, like Grease 2 better than Grease. To me, there's no comparison. I think Grease is far the superior film.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, they're both sort of have a sort of cult following now as well.
Yeah.
There is a big fan base for Grease too.
Yeah.
And it kind of stands up. I think had it been made on its own, it would maybe have stood up a bit better. But people are obviously going to compare it to the original. But it still has its fans.
You know what? That's a great point. What you say is totally true. You're right. It's probably always compared to Grease. So it's kind of like Help, was a good film in itself. But because it was compared to Hard Day's Night,
Right.
you go, it's so much lesser of a film
Right.
than A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Now, after Grease, you must have been getting stopped all the time in the street. You're instantly, you have, even all these 40 years later, you haven't changed a bit.
Oh, thank you. I'm getting. You notice a little bit of white hair here and there, but a few more lines in the face. But yeah.
But you're looking good though. I mean,
thank you.
how often do you still get recognised today?
Here and there, or I'll go, I do a lot of signing shows, Ross. Now that's where the fans really come in, and they'll know Grease. They'll say these little, oh, it's Eugene Florsnig. They even know his last name. Those are the real fans. I'll get recognized, like when I go to small places like Cumberland. I just did a signing show in Alabama. Those people all know you there. In LA, I'll get recognized. I'm being honest with you, maybe like once a day if I'm lucky. Yeah.
Right. Now, you mentioned these conventions and signing events.
Yes, sir.
You have one coming up next in April.
April 26th, I'll be signing in Canada. You can Google it. But I know it is April 26th, and I'll be there signing. It's some kind of a Comic-Con or a movie con. Yeah.
Right. Now, you also, very interestingly, do voiceover work.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
Eddie has provided the voices of some great characters that you will know from the world of animation.
Yes.
Tell us some of the voices.
Mandark, I do Mandark from Dexter's Laboratory. Get this is a true story. When I was doing the signing show in Alabama, okay, this girl had a crush on Mandark. Not in love with me, but she said, I've been in love with Mandark for 20 years. I swear to God, this is true. She literally, when I talked to her, she forgot her own name. I go, every time I'll sign a picture, I'll go, what's your name, honey? And they'll go, Mary, and I'll put to Mary, da da da. I go, what's your name? She goes, like 10 seconds she could, and then her boyfriend goes, her name's Haley. She's Haley. She goes, I can't believe I forgot my own name. She liked Mandark so much she couldn't think of her own name. It's the only time I ever made a girl forget her name. Yeah.
Tell us about some of the other characters you've played. Like
I did, oh yes, Polar Express. I kind of play an anime character. Polar Express with Tom Hanks. I got to work with Tom Hanks. Ross, the nice, you know how nice John Travolta is. I'd say there's only one real star I've met who is just that nice and that cool, and that would be Tom Hanks. They're both just total, nice, warm, friendly, great guys.
What, do you have any anecdotes about working with Tom Hanks on that?
Yes, I remember.
Who did you play in Polar Express?
Polar Express, I'm the know-it-all kid. I'm the bad kid.
Oh,
I want all those presents. Look at all those presents, Santa Claus. Give them all to me. I want all those presents. I'm like the bad kid, but I turn good in the end. With the glasses, that's me, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so what do you remember about working with Tom Hanks?
Okay, Ross, do you know, I don't know if you know it, you're Scottish. Do you know a show called Captain Kangaroo? We had a show in America called Captain Kangaroo.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
It was a little kiddie show. It was called Captain Kangaroo, and I would watch it every morning when I went to kindergarten, okay? And the captain would come out and they'd play these cartoons, and there was Mr. Moose, and it was just this kiddie show, you know?
Okay.
Anyway, Captain Kangaroo, on one of the last days of filming on Polar Express, Captain Kangaroo died. His name was Bob Keeshan. He was an actor. So I was in makeup, and I'm real depressed, you know, Captain Kangaroo died. Tom Hanks comes in, and he said how much he loved Captain Kangaroo. We're talking about Captain Kangaroo with Tom Hanks, and I'm really bummed out. We talked about our memories as kids, how we loved to watch Captain Kangaroo when we were little kids. Anyway, I go out of the makeup room, I'm standing there, I was real bummed out. Tom Hanks comes out of the makeup room, I'm looking up, Tom Hanks, he's maybe like 6'2". I'm looking up, it was a sunny day, I was looking up in the sky, and I looked up Tom Hanks. He sang me the song from Captain Kangaroo. It's called Tom Terrific. There's a little cartoon character, and he goes, I'm Tom Terrific, this is my dog, da 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 da. And Tom sang that to me. Tom Hanks is serenading me, you know, with this song. I couldn't believe it. He sang the song, the word for word perfect. He didn't miss a beat, da da da. I was absolutely in awe. I'm listening to this, I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't think of anything to say. I just go, you know what, you're a great guy, I said. So he just smiled and he walked away. Wow. But that was Tom Hanks. He's like a real life Santa Claus. It's like meeting Santa Claus. That's the closest you compare to what's it like knowing Tom Hanks. He's like Santa Claus.
And this is a story we hear all the time about Tom Hanks. He's one of the nicest guys in the business.
Absolutely, he is. He's like this magical guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you also mentioned the character on top of the train. You had a little story about that as well. Wasn't that supposed to be played by someone else? Yes,
exactly, Ross. That was, Tom Hanks was friends with Marlon Brando. The role of the hobo on top of the train in Polar Express was written for Brando. And Tom Hanks, you know, can you come play it? Now, Marlon Brando was getting very sick at the time, was very close to he died in 2004. Polar Express came out in November 2004, so it was within a few months of that. But Tom said, Marla, we need you. Can you come in for just one day? We go, we'll get your whole thing in one day. We'll have cue cards. We'll make it really easy for you. But Brando was too sick. He just couldn't come in. So Tom ended up taking over the role himself, but they wanted Brando. So I came this close, Ross, to working with Marlon Brando in a movie.
Can you imagine?
Close. Yeah, me and Brando. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he would have played that part so differently.
Exactly. You're so right. He would have played so differently.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to Grease for a second.
Sure.
You were talking about... let's talk about when it was made. It was made in 1977.
Yes.
There's a little story about Elvis Presley died in 1977, and there's a little connection there to this movie.
True story, Ross. The last day of shooting on Grease is where Olivia's with Stockard and the pink ladies, you know, and she's like the goody girl. She smokes it.
Sandra Dee, when they're singing Sandra Dee in the bedroom.
Yeah. Exactly. Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee. Anyway, there's a line that's on there's a poster of Elvis you'll see on the wall in that.
Yeah,
that was the last day of shooting on Grease, and she sings, Elvis, Elvis, get your filthy paws off my silky drawers. They sing that, and there's Elvis there, and they do the shake like Elvis.
Right.
That was filmed. That scene was the last shot ever shot in Grease. It was August 16th, 1977. The Elvis Presley, the real Elvis, died that same day. Wow. It's like it's a 1,000,000 to 1 shot, but that really did happen.
So they shot that scene without knowing he had
no idea. It was a total coincidence.
Hi, we're in Hollywood and you're watching the Ross Owen Show.
So Eddie, we're here at another Grease location. Yes. Tell us a bit about where we are.
We filmed Grease at 2 high schools. The other one we were at Venice High School in Venice. This is the one right in Hollywood. This is Marshall High School. This is where we did, Ross, all the carnival stuff at the end, you know, where the carnival, my big scene where I get hit in the face with a pie, that was at this field 42 years ago.
We go together.
We go together was on this field, right, exactly.
Wow, and
yeah.
Right, and it still pretty much looks
pretty much it. We had, Ross, a whole carnival built here. We had the cotton candy booth, you know, and the thing where, you know, John rings the bell like that, and which he did in real life. John, I remember in real life, John Travolta took the hammer and he was so strong, he did ding, ring that bell. Wow. I remember he did that, yeah.
And was it an actual full carnival they set up?
Yes, they had a full carnival. In fact, I remember too, Ross, I clearly remember when Olivia came out in her black pants. She was sewed into those black pants, you know, they were so tight, they sewed her in, and I remember her walking out. And of course, all the guys are drooling, you know, it was electrifying.
First time you all seen her?
That was the first time we saw her. She walked out and surprised us. All the guys were wolf whistling at her, you know, and all. It was electrifying.
And would that have been the case for John Travolta as well? Would that be the first time he would see her dressed up like that?
Good question. I honestly don't know that, but I know for a lot of the cast it was the first time. She surprised us.
I know a few of us were wolf whistling in the cinema as well while watching again, another very iconic moment in the movie. When would that scene have been filmed? Would that have been at the end? Was it chronological when they were filming it? Or?
This was pretty much at the end, yes. In fact, my last day of shooting, I'll tell you the weirdest story. They had literally carnival rides here, and they had one, the Twister, you know, you sit in, it spins you around. Yeah. This is my last day on the set. So the director, Randall Kleiser, he goes, Eddie, we want you to be on one of the rides. I go, look, I have bad motion sickness, I'll get real sick. He goes, no, get on the ride. And they kept persuading me, Alan Carr, the producer, talked. I finally got on. So you look at the movie, you'll see the Twister thing. You'll see a blur there. That's me. The blur there on the machine is me. Now here's what happened, Ross. This is my last day. I was sick on the thing. So I'm walking off. I threw up in the middle of this field. I was walking on the field woozy, and I threw up. And that was my last day on Grease. I literally threw up on somewhere in this field. I threw up. That was how I ended Grease.
I'm going to have a look somewhere. That's going straight on eBay if we find any of your.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, which cast members would you say you became friendly with? Are you still friends with any of them today?
Yeah, Barry Pearl is a great friend of mine. We're on
Duty.
Facebook together. Duty, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Wonderful. In fact, you should interview him. He's on Facebook. You should get him. Michael Tucci's a great guy. Kelly Ward, all the T-Birds are great guys.
Right.
Susan Buckner's still a friend of mine, who is Patty Simcox, who, when we filmed Grease, I had a big crush on her. I loved her. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you still see any of the other guys? Didi?
Didi, I saw them all. We did a reunion signing show last year, Chiller Theater in New Jersey, and I saw pretty much all the cast.
Sure.
Dinah was there, and all the Pink Ladies were all there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is incredible. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just
So
wanna
many
say
memories.
Thanks for bringing us out to this location,
Oh.
because most people, when they think of Greece, assume it's all shot in the one place.
Yeah.
Venice
Yeah.
High School.
Right.
But we would never have known about
These are the two. This was the second one, and yeah, this is where the end of the film was.
And so it's been
Yeah.
40 odd years since you were here.
42 years. Can you believe it, Ross? It went by like, you know, Ross, how memories are like, it seems like yesterday in some ways. In some ways, it seems like a million years ago.
But looking at you now, it could have been yesterday, because it looks exactly the same, doesn't it?
Well, thank you.
40
Thank you.
years. I mean, who would believe it's been 40 years since
Yeah.
we met Eugene? It just doesn't seem like it.
Well, thank you.
But
Yeah.
thank you very much for
My
your time
pleasure.
and spending time with us today. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure, Ross. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
There you go. Eddie Deezen, right here in Hollywood.
Hi, I'm Eddie Deezen, Eugene from Greece. Keep watching The Ross Owen Show. It's the best show I've seen. It's great. Ross is a great guy, so tune in every week.